Coming up on UGTV, Board of Commission meeting of the Unified Government of Wyandotte County, Kansas City, Kansas.
Welcome, everyone. It's good to see you this evening. I'll now call this meeting to order and ask the clerk to call the roll.
Roll call: Bynum.
Here.
Walker.
Here.
Townsend.
Here.
McKiernan.
Here.
Mugia. Johnson.
Here.
Kane. Markley. Walters. Philbrook.
Here.
Holland.
Here. This evening, the invocation is being given by Reverend Mike May, St. Luke's Lutheran Church. Reverend May, thank you for being here. And police chaplain, longtime police chaplain. Please stand and remain standing for the Pledge of Allegiance.
We pray. Almighty God, you are the creator of heaven and earth, of all that is, seen and unseen. You are the giver of every good and perfect gift. You've created us in body, mind, and spirit, all that we are, all that we have, and you continue still to support us and direct this world and the history that unfolds around us. It is you who are the final arbiter and executor of justice and mercy. And so we thank you that you have created and given us this nation, this state, this city, and you've placed it in our keeping and commanded that it be a place of liberty and justice for all, a haven and destination of the tired, the poor, the hungry, the wretched refuse of shores both far and near. In your mercy, let us not be a craven and cowardly people seeking only our own welfare and security at the expense of those we perceive as not like us, but make us into people like our founding fathers, who took risks not for private gain, but that freedom might ring for all, because all humans are created equal in your sight. May this gathering here tonight, by your guidance, be one small example for ourselves and our metro area of that kind of governance and neighborliness that truly makes America great. Cloak us with your wisdom and the courage of your only begotten Son. Amen.
Amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you, Reverend. We appreciate your being here tonight.
Welcome. Thank you.
I'd like to ask the clerk if there are any revisions to tonight's agenda.
There are no revisions, Mr. Mayor.
All right, thank you. Tonight we have two distinct parts of our meeting. The planning and zoning portion will be handled first, followed by our regular commission meeting. Our planning and zoning has a required statement to be read, and I'll ask the clerk to now read that statement, and followed by the items on the planning and zoning consent agenda.
We would like to welcome all present to this meeting of the Unified Government Commission. Members of the commission are Mayor Mark Holland, Commissioner Melissa Bynum, at-large District 1, Commissioner Hal Walker, at-large District 2, Commissioner Gail Townsend, District 1, Commissioner Brian McKiernan, District 2, Commissioner Ann Mugia, District 3, is unable to be here, Commissioner Harold Johnson Jr., District 4, Commissioner Mike Kane, District 5, Commissioner Angela Markley, District 6, Commissioner Jim Walters, District 7, and Commissioner Jane Philbrook, District 8. As each petition is called this evening, all persons for or against will be given the opportunity to express their views. If this is the first time that a particular petition has been before this commission, the commission has 3 options. Number 1, it can approve the recommendation of the Planning Commission with 6 votes. Number 2, it can override the Planning Commission's recommendation, but it would take 8 votes to override. And number 3, it can return the matter to the Planning Commission for further consideration, together with the statement specifying the reasons for the referral back to the Planning Commission. The consent agenda is the first part of the Planning and Zoning agenda. Items on the consent agenda have received a unanimous vote of recommendation by the Planning Commission. Unless there is a request to set aside an item from the consent agenda by the applicant, a member of the public, the Unified Government Commission, or staff, then the Planning Commission's recommendation on all items on the consent agenda will be adopted by the Unified Government Commission at one time. I will read the list of agenda items on the consent agenda, and when I have completed the list, the mayor will ask if there are any requests to set aside items from the consent agenda. This is your time to stand up and request that an item be set aside if you do not agree with the Planning Commission's recommendation. If an item is set aside, the matter will be discussed and voted upon separately. All items not set aside will be approved with the Planning Commission's recommendation. We appreciate the attendance of those people here this evening, and we recognize the importance of each petition. We would remind you that there are a number of items on the agenda, and we would appreciate your efforts to make your remarks as concise as possible. We ask that anyone with a cell phone to please turn them off or switch to non-audio so you will not disturb the meeting. Once the petitioners make their presentation, anyone for or against will be allowed the maximum 3 minutes to state your views. As you come to the microphone, please state your name and city for the record. The mayor and commission are required to disclose contacts with proponents or opponents on any item on the Planning and Zoning agenda. I will ask if any member of the commission wish to disclose any contact with proponents or opponents on any item on the agenda.
Commissioner Markley.
I've had contact with opponents of there are 3 actually related items related to 667 South 55th Street.
Thank you. Commissioner Bynum.
I had contact with opponents of those same 3 items.
Thank you. Commissioner Walker.
Same. Opponents reached out by email and phone.
Thank you. I'll note that I've had conversation with the BPU about their request for SP 2017-6. Let the record show no further disclosures.
I will now read the items on the consent agenda. Changes on application, item 1, 3129, Udira Luna Flores. Change of zone from C1 Limited District Business District to C2 General Business District for a used car lot at 667 South 55th Street. Recommended for denial. Special use permit applications, item number 1, SP 2017-3, Udira Luna Flores. Special use permit for a used car lot at 667 South 55th Street. Recommended for denial. Item 2, SP 2017-6, Don Gray with Board of Public Utilities. Special use permit to operate, develop a community solar farm at 4240 North 55th Street. Recommended for approval. Item 3, SP 2017-7, Jeffrey Steeney with Joe's Kansas City Barbecue, Inc. Special use permit for a parking lot at Joe Kansas City Barbecue at 4620 Mission Road. Recommended for approval for 2 years. Master Plan Amendment Application, Item 1, MP 2017-2, Yadira Luna Flores. Master Plan Amendment from Low Density Residential to Community Commercial at 667 South 55th Street, recommended for denial. Miscellaneous ordinances, one item, rezoning ordinance number 3124, Mariana Pedro, and an ordinance rezoning property at 100 North 10th Street from R1B, Single Family District to CP3, Planned Commercial District, recommended for approval. Those are all items on the consent agenda.
Excuse me, would anyone in attendance tonight, any member of the staff or any commissioner, like to set aside any item from the consent agenda? Any items not set aside will be voted on by a single vote.
Second.
Mr. Richardson?
We'd like to set aside item B2, Don Gray at Board of Public Utilities.
That item will be set aside. Let the record show no one else moving to set an item aside. It is properly before us. Roll call.
Roll call: Bynum,
Aye.
Walker,
Aye.
Townsend,
Aye.
McKiernan,
Aye.
Johnson,
Aye.
Kane, Markley,
Aye.
Walters, Philbrook.
Aye.
The vote is 9-0. That motion carries.
All right, that brings us to the item that was set aside, SP 2017-6, Don Gray with the Board of Public Utilities. Mr. Richardson, I'll ask you to begin.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. At the Planning Commission hearing, there was concern from one of the nearby neighbors about glare from the solar farm. And the Planning Commission asked the Board of Public Utilities to do some further study on the glare related to that particular property. They have done that, and we have reviewed that research, and it indicates that there shouldn't be glare at that facility. But we would like to add, and I think that Mr. Dong with BPU can concur, that if there should happen to be glare, the BPU would work with the property owner to eliminate that glare in the future.
All right. Sir, would you like to speak to it? Don Quach.
Good evening, mayors, commissioners, and member of UG staff. Don Gray, the general manager, cannot be here tonight, and my name is Don Watt. I'm the manager of electric production. I'm filling in for him. And from BPU perspective, yes, we have read the staff report, and we understand what is in there, and we intend to fully comply with that, as Mr. Rob Richardson mentioned on that. Glare is not a problem. There was a concern from a resident, particularly the Stevens family on 32 north of 55th Street. They are on the southwest corner of where the proposed site. There's no way they will see any glare, because I drove up there to their driveway and tried to see look to the direct to the site, and that you cannot see that, because right now the bluff and the elevation and trees with no leaf you cannot see. But in the future, as the spring coming up, there'll be no way they can see it. And yes, we will fully comply with that. Just in case if there's any glare, we will do whatever we need to do to fix that problem.
All right. So is it, Mr. Richardson, is your intent to add a stipulation to that effect, or is the stipulation on the record by the Board of Public Utilities sufficient?
It's on the record now. I think that we could just add based on his statement.
Okay.
For approval with the add-ons that the staff made.
All right. So that proposal is properly before us. We do need to open, though, a public hearing. Anyone who would like to speak in favor of this, anyone member of the public, you're welcome to come forward at this time. Let the record show no one's moving forward. Anyone who would like to speak in opposition is invited to come forward at this time. Again, let the record show no one is moving
Move
forward.
for approval with staff recommendations. Second.
I'll close the public hearing. It is properly before us. Roll call.
Roll call: Bynum,
Aye.
Walker,
Aye.
Townsend,
Aye.
McKiernan,
Aye.
Johnson,
Aye.
Kane, Markley,
Aye.
Walters, Philbrook.
Aye.
The vote is 9-0. That motion carries.
All right,
Thank you,
thank you,
Mayor
sir.
and Commissioners.
Appreciate your being here tonight. All right, that brings us to our regular session. Our planning and zoning portion of our meeting is concluded, and now our regular agenda session is with us. We have a non-planning consent agenda with simply routine business items. either of these two items not set aside, we'll have to take 2 votes instead of 1.
Second.
It's properly before us. Roll call.
Roll call Bynum,
Aye.
Walker,
Aye.
Townsend,
Aye.
McKiernan,
Aye.
Johnson,
Aye.
Kane, Markley, Walters, Philbrook.
Aye.
The vote is 9-0. That motion carries.
All right, the last item on our agenda is our county administrator's report. We ask him to do these on a regular basis to keep the commission and the community up to date. He has, how many slides did you say? 60 slides, and he has promised to not read all of them. But it is important, I think, the scope. I think it is important both for the commission and for the public to see the scope of work that's going on in the unified government. So we will have the administrator walk through his report. Mr. Bach?
Thank you, Mayor. And this is first report of 2017, though this does date back into some year-end things that did happen. I try to do it kind of as a cumulative year-end report when I did my one right before October, but this has several things that came into year-end as well, so it kind of dates for several months. Format is the same as we go through this. I'm looking at, well, let's see. Thank you, Commissioner. There you go. Appreciate that. Same format as we've had in the past, where we're moving through the various categories up that were set out. So I have not made an adjustment to this presentation. It is done or designed along with how you have my goals set out. So I've kept it in that format until we change that. I'll start with public safety, and I'm just going to hit 1 or 2 different ones on each one. First one on this one, I'll note that we have had an increase in homicides occur in our community, and probably the key point that comes from this is that while we did see a continual uptick in 2016, the chief is working to implement a new crime strategy and models to use these crime data, traffic accident data, and SOAR data to help identify some of our problems. And he'll be meeting with you all in the next 30 days to kind of talk about what that new strategy is and some things to implement to help, what we believe will help deter this. Also in the police department on this slide is noted that we saved over $1.5 million in that department last year. Actually, the savings was closer to $2.5 million, but we had about $1 million worth of buyouts that had to be paid out and penalties and such for some of the retirement benefits that went in. So they were operating very efficiently in terms of how we're working with the personnel. So continuing to direct money in this area is showing that it's paying back in dividends. The fire department, probably one of the more notable things was that we completed our contract with Local 64 through the end of the last year and the beginning of this year. Our firefighter trainee program is in full operation, going forward with the trainees currently enrolled in their Firefighter 1 and Firefighter 2 certification courses at Kansas City, Kansas Community College. There also include hazardous material certification that they're going through. In the Sheriff's Department, we had a notable impact in that all our inmates were returned from our farm-out operations at the end of December. It's the first time this has happened in many, many years. We have seen a slight uptick as we moved into 2017, but at this point we've been able to manage them all in-house at this point. And part of that is also due to some of the double bunking and some of the initiatives we had put forth as a governing body. So it has to do with the committee that works on this, and they look through who needs to be in jail, but also those that different ways of housing. In municipal court, we had to stop our e-citation methodology in the field. Well, we had some technical issues that we're trying to resolve. This is somewhat of a setback, but our Chief Knowledges Officer has brought everyone together and working through how we may be able to fix this. And currently, they're setting a time frame to put this back into operation. Under Community Correction, Youth Services, the Juvenile Detention Alternatives Initiative work by the departments resulted in over a 42% reduction in the average daily population that's in this unit since 2007. So these are factors that we're considering about the methodologies they're using as we go through this year and evaluate building a new juvenile detention facility, which you all have funded or directed me to work forward in the coming years. Under our adult drug court continues to operate. As mental health failures are a major contributor to our jail population, the collaborative work done with the district court, Wyandotte Mental Health, and district office has led us to start our district's first mental health docket for felony adults on top of what we do with the drug court. Under emergency management, I'll note that we planned, engineered, and installed a new talking outdoor warning siren system out at our new youth soccer complex. So that's the second one of these that we've put in our community. Also, we planned, engineered, and installed both security and observation cameras on the roof of this building. So it's kind of moving to some of that new technology that's there and in place. May not be drones flying over the city yet, Commissioner, but we do have more and more camera equipment that are coming out that are at a much higher level of technology. Keeps you paying attention that way. Through infrastructure, I list a lot of projects in the report, so as you go back through and look at this, I'm sure there'll be a lot of things and you move through in these pages that you'll probably find as interesting as anything in the report. Notable that you all note, our UG on-site health clinic was opened up at the end of December, major project for us. We also installed the elevators into Memorial Hall, so we'll be sure and get some site visits going for you all to go over there and see the renovations that were made in that building and what we've done to put our ballroom into use now, which has been out of service for years because of ADA reasons. Also on infrastructure, moving forward with our Central Avenue reconstruction project, which moves from I-70 to 17th Street, and this work will really is just getting started again, and its completion date should be the end of April. Safe routes to school, design work is underway for that for projects that will be 2018 projects. Schools that are involved are listed in that. Completed all our 2016 neighborhood resurfacing projects, and also noting that our PD South Patrol facility is well underway. If you haven't been by to see it, the roof structure is going on to that building, so it's set for completion in July of this year. Also, we put out our notice of intent to establish the quiet zone along K32 corridor. We met with Bonner Springs, Edwardsville. We've had a lot of conversation with Edwardsville how that'll work. And also the Union Pacific Railroad has begun developing cost estimates, which will be part of the initial agreements to move this project forward. Under Parks and Recreation, we did some new ADA playground system equipment in Eisenhower, Mack, and Alvey Parks. Moving into customer service, I'll note that our Unified Government Attorney had one of his attorneys serve on the City Attorneys Association for the Kansas Policy Review Board. So we're getting out and about. Public Works received and responded to over 340 Engineer of the Month calls and responded in response to various citizen complaints. We had 635 employees complete our public health assessment for our biometric screening. Maybe that's 636, we left one off. I was trying to get 100% out of my department. But this is an uptick from last year. We had made a considerable move from about 400 last year, and now we're up to getting up over 635. Under areas of innovation, part of our new records portal, our next request led by our clerk, we launched that yesterday, so that is now available for citizens when they want to come in and find out information. It's putting in what's public information request. It's kind of one of those systems that the more it gets populated, the more information will be there available. But if someone made a request for a certain type of information yesterday and then you went online and said you wanted the same information, it'll pop up and be right there for you. So it's really, we're the first in the state of Kansas to advance into this, and I think it's really just like OpenGov was for budget, that we really haven't had to respond to budgetary requests for the last 2 years since we made that available. This will be the same for other methods of information. We don't just automatically put everything we have in our records out here, but a lot of questions we do get are the same, and this will make it so it's all automated going forward. On this page, I'll just note like where we've increased the bandwidth in our Annex, Neighborhood Resource Center, Fleet Center, increasing them from 100 megabits to 1 gigabit, so that's speeding up their flow of operations. There's several DOTS projects that are listed that are underway here. These are really innovative areas that we've moved into and helping in a lot of different departments. Same thing under Geospatial Services, where we're seeing several different projects that they're working on now. In the Health Department, we have a new quality improvement plan that was developed by a team of 15 staff persons in the Health Department. The plan was published in January, and they will set to launch it, improvement trainings currently. Also, I'll say one of our bigger SOAR projects that's also in this is the land banks launched their new rehab program. We had 3 open houses Tuesday of this week for contractors to come in and bid to begin on this side of this project. And these were all properties that we had acquired through tax sales that did not sell. Under economic development, we're beginning our process for our NRA. This is one that we do every 3 years. So this will be the process. We'll first come to the governing body. So our staff has kind of went through this, getting all geared up, looked at the program, and then we'll come to the commission, to the standing committee, and then we go meet with all the elected jurisdictions in the city as we move forward to do interlocal agreements with each one of these. So this is quite an undertaking for the course of 2017 for that department. We're getting ready to issue out the Northeast Area Master Plan RFP. Under Education and Workforce, our core teams of organizations led by Wyandotte and the UG to prepare for local residents on application and testing process for our Amazon. And then also following, I'll note under multimodal, that we've met with Amazon officials to discuss new transit routes to serve their new facilities, so when our citizens get jobs out there, they have easy access to moving back and forth to this facility that currently is not really, we're a little ways away from there where our current bus stops are. Under social services, in collaboration with K-State Research and Extension, the Child Care Licensing Program conducted 4 sessions, literacy training in February, focusing on implementing emergent language and literacy practices in early childhood classrooms. 30 adults were enrolled in the training. Also, the Health Department's Emergency Preparedness Division conducted a closed point of dispensing training for Wyandotte County partner businesses. Personnel from 20 different businesses attended and received training on how to receive and dispense medications on their own staff and families during a public health emergency. Under Area Agency on Aging on Social Services, the implemented in January 2017, 25 seniors have been placed into services from the Senior Care Act wait list. This is the initiative that you all put additional funding into last year after severe cuts were made from the state of Kansas. So that's a major thing. We still see a wait list has 268 seniors on it. If it would not have been for the initiative by the commission, we'd probably see this list over 500. Additionally, on Area Agency, Senior Nutrition Centers saw 163,700 meals that were served to seniors between January of 16 through the end of that 2016. Under Human Services, we assisted over 100 callers regarding landlord-tenant rights. Sometimes we lose track of some of the services that this agency makes in this area, but there are people that have disputes, and they step in and are able to work through these and resolve them without other incident going on. Under Healthy Communities, our Community Health Assessment Survey was concluded in January 2017. Over 2,200 responses were received. A complete result of report and surveys will be available at the end of this quarter. We've got several on these on Healthy Communities. In October of 2016, there was a 5-year anniversary of the Healthy Communities Wyandotte Coalition. A celebration was held down at the Vox Theater in November with over 150 people attending that were in celebration of this. Parks and Recreation Division list of many events that happened throughout the community during this time frame, but I'll note 2 big openings we did at the end of last year, and that was the Cobb Point Connector Trail was completed, and then the two futsal courts that were open in John Garland Park. Under the area of environment, we changed our 14-day abatement policy, and this is one of our SOAR initiatives that is an effort to speed up the process for more effectively addressing trash and weed violations. Also, building inspection have increased over the same period from last year. We did 5,568 inspections. Commercial inspections were a total of 4,800 of those. Residential inspections were 731. We put forth work to add the 3rd tax sale in 2017, and also note right on the one right above this, we've increased the number of parcels we're able to process through each one of the tax sales. There are many SOAR accomplishments that are listed throughout this presentation and really in the next sections, and we put those under environment because we believe that that's the major area of impact, though they are kind of scattered throughout different areas of the presentation. But we established 196 SOAR goals for 2017 and put the 10,000 properties that we're going to touch as part of that. We've drafted a policy for vacant registry and submitted to legal for review. This review will form the basis for drafting our vacant registry ordinance. Our mowing work group has come together and put together a great plan that will be presented to the standing committee here in the next month, but they've developed a tiered mowing program to allocate resources to the highest priority of mowing. We've identified really just various across the entire city areas of emphasis, which ones we want to spend the most time on and where the allocation of those resources are going, and also the incorporation of the spraying program that we talked to you all about and which you funded us up to come into 2017. So we are ready to start rolling that this month, really, as the weather's starting to warm up. Yeah, and that is one of the things we've been doing during the wintertime is direction of a lot of the crews toward cleaning up some of these lots so we're not battling the trash and debris that's in it that slows us down in mowing during the summertime when we have a lot of grass. So that's already one of the early initiatives of getting into some of that now. Under personnel, we're moving forward to hire the new media relations specialist. That's part of our initiatives for how we're recording some of our UGTV activities and other communication initiatives we'll be moving forward with in 2017. Also in legal, I'll just note that in personnel, the legal department has done several things. They do a lot of work with the law enforcement. Some of these in the middle of the advanced officer training where they completed 158 of the 302 officers and command staff, training for 11 police recruits and 30 sheriff deputies. With the new public safety recruitment officer, we're able to get out and attend a lot of job fairs that are listed up here. You see the different, a half dozen different job fairs that we attended during this time period. Last week in finance, we saw them complete their long-term financial forecast and presented to the commission. as well as our first budget and many other activities that are going on in this area. Completed 2 bond issues with the Board of Public Utilities during this time frame, helping to refund their major series bond and then utility improvements for 2016. In motor vehicle, the average wait time for the fourth quarter 2016 was 47 minutes, which was down 79 minutes from where we were in the fourth quarter of 2015. So the initiatives we've taken here have made drastic impacts and changes on operations in that area. Probably should have that bullet point under customer service. Other activities listed, the Property Value Division under the Appraiser's Office. Major improvements were recorded in compliance issues previously identified by the State Property Valuation Division. Reinspection, supporting documentation, and timeliness has vastly improved in this area. For field inspection, we received 1,800 building permits that had been issued in 2016. And of those, 308 are new construction building permits. All the new construction building permits have been verified to close to January 1st for the 2017 valuations. For the first time, we actually reached a point where we had completely staffed up the appraiser's office. And we did have somebody leave us right after that, but we had reached a point of being fully staffed, which was an accomplishment that had not been done in a few years, and then having a little more sustainability of having trained appraisers in that area. Through staff leadership and interaction under the communication area, the Knowledge Office has launched really an extensive list of groups that we're getting together with, and they kind of oversee different projects that we're working on as far as procedures, and are some involvement that goes with technology in those areas. These are just some of the meetings that I have, from weekly to different settings with team members. Also under communication, I'll just note we will be issuing out the first citizen newsletter of this year. Should be coming out around the middle of this month. This will include a lot of material that we're putting out toward our 2017 SOAR strategy. And then concluding, I always note the various meetings that are held with the Commission, from our fall strategic planning to our weekly notes on threes that we've had on a couple of topics. State House news that's put out by Mike Taylor, and then on ones as we need those and move through. That concludes my report for tonight.
Commissioner Bynum.
First of all, Doug, I just wanted to say thank you. It's too bad you don't have anything going on. But to the point of the health assessments and encouraging staff to participate in those, I know that in 2011, I was working for an employer who offered us the health assessments, and I had always had exactly 120/80 blood pressure and good cholesterol readings, and surprisingly had some readings that came back at those health assessments that sent me to my doctor. And to get those things under control, I never would have known without those health assessments that I was headed down the wrong road. So, you know, I wonder if testimonials such as that could encourage our employees to really participate when those are offered, because it truly does matter. And I'm sure there are a lot of people walking around thinking that they feel okay and not realizing that they have a potentially chronic disease that can be treated and managed. So I just wanted to put that forward. That's really important.
Thank you, Commissioner. That's a good idea, and I think anything we can do to get and push that on our employees. I mean, you know, we offer the $50 gift card from our health insurance program now, but that hasn't been a motivator that when we have 2,200 employees and only 600 show up to do it, and it takes you, between the two things, takes about 5 minutes to complete the survey and about 15 minutes to go do the health assessment. And the people, $50 isn't enough to entice them to do that. It probably does really take that maybe it's that real world experience to come hear about it and say, you know, you could be just saving your life.
It took 3 minutes for my son to spend that $50 gift card. Commissioner Philbrook.
Follow up real quick.
Go ahead.
Do we do any statistical analysis of whether the people that are coming in are the ones that are here on site or whether they're off site? I would just be curious if that's part of the influencing factor of whether people go do the 5-minute deal. Is if they're not here in this building, it wouldn't be a 5-minute deal, right?
Well, we do them on site.
Okay.
So we
So
don't
you
do
go
them just
everywhere.
in this building. We do them in various buildings. We go out to the Fleet Center. We go out to the annex. So we fire stations. So we try to put them out in facilities so it's easier for our employees to get to. I don't know I think we do break it out by department area, don't we? So we do have it by department. So that is one of those stats we are going to look at and see if we have some departments that are participating at a higher rate than other departments, which I do believe we do. But I think then that kind of gives us an area of focus that maybe we can go to and try to push it on them more.
Sorry. Didn't want us to move on to you and jump back.
That's right.
I don't know where we'd be jumping back from, but because we're still on the same subject. I went and had my physical done, and I got my little card, and I haven't spent it yet, but I will. And I'm glad I went in. It was very thorough, and they recommended me for some other activities to do, being over 60. And it was a very good experience. They're very professional, and I would encourage anybody, and all of them, to go. There's no reason for people that are getting this free service not to take advantage of it, unless, of course, you don't want to know. If you don't want to know, then okay, don't. But otherwise, I'd encourage that so you can catch it before it's a problem.
Thank you.
Commissioner Walker.
Just, unless I missed it in your presentation, Doug, do you plan to give us a quarterly report on our new clinic? I mean, how do you have, it ties in sort of with her health. How's it doing? Do you have any feedback yet?
Yeah, I do. There is some stats that are in this report that show you what we had that came through the first. Probably looking at more doing an annual report that would be more comprehensive. There's a few stats that are on here that show what happened for the month of basically January, I think, Joe, is what we got out of it. Since Mr. Connor didn't use the microphone, he said the activities are slow, but our participation our customer service is rating up very well. But yes, we'll be coming back and giving reports on that. But there's there's preliminary data for what's happened as far as people coming into it so far.
Thank you.
All right, I don't see any more questions or comments. That completes our meeting tonight. We are adjourned.